Daith da, Ewi Nagan. Welcome to podcast number 118. It has been a very varied week since I spoke to you last. Last Friday we was out St. Peter's Church, Port Isaac. Not the easiest church to work in, to be honest, because any way you go into Port Isaac, you got steep hills. And going down this hill there outside St. Peter's is brave and steep. There isn't a lot of parking, there's WO lines everywhere. But 'tis a lovely little church when you get inside. I think I have mentioned before at the back, it's got a beautiful mural of the fisherman, I suppose, St. Peter and the fisherman. My Bible knowledge isn't as good as it used to be honest. But all through Friday, we did have our eye on the weather forecast because Saturday we had a massive funeral at Blisland Church, which isn't the biggest of churches anyway. And we knew there'd be people outside. So we went up and we set up our PA system on Friday. But of course, we had this Storm Dara, was it called? Storm Dara came in and 'twas brave and windy. Well, 'twas hellish, really. And the added complication we had this weekend was that we had Orstraw and Erse. Now, up until earlier this year, our mate down west, Dave Jones, we always used his horses. He had Orstraw and Erse, and he had little cobs. Now, the cobs was proper because Cornwall so hilly, they could do any hills, no problem at all. But Dave have now sold his Erse. He've now stopped that side of it. So we got horses down from Wales, and they came down the night before. And these were two, fantastic looking black Frisian Stallions. And I did put a video on our RJ Bray Facebook page because it was a fantastic sight. But Mehdi come down from Wales, and because of the weather, we was up on Bodmin Moor like Blisland. Well, you couldn't get much higher, really. And he said, if 'tis too windy, I don't know if my horses will be able to do it or no. So when he got to the house, they did do a recce, and the first bit was brave and windy, and he was still a bit doubtful. But once they got over the brow of the high bit of the moor, going down into Blisland village, 'twasn't so bad. So he said, yep, I'm going to do it. And I tell you what, 'twas a fantastic sight. Like I say, I put a video on our Facebook page if you want to have a look at it. But 'twas absolutely brilliant. And the service went well. I did feel sorry for all they that were stood outside because the wind was so strong. And when we left to go home, we said, well, which way shall us go? We ended up going the main roadway because we thought there could be trees down or anything. And that backfired on us, really, because we went through Bodmin and coming down towards the Borough Arms there at Dunmere, road was blocked because there was a tree down right on the bridge. Tree went over, blocked the road. So I said, right, we'll turn around, we'll go through Nanstallen. So we turned around, and as we got to Nanstallen, God, it was like M25. There was cars flying towards us. I said, right, we won't go that way, we'll go Grogley. So we went Grogley way, and you can guess what happened? Tree down. So we had to reverse and turn around again because the road was blocked. So we ended up going down Uston Hill. Well, if you've been down Uston Hill before, it is brave and steep. There were 2 or 3 cars in front of us, and we had to stop for a while. Somebody would just got out to move a bit of a tree off the road again. And I think it took us about, over an hour to get back from Blisland to work. But 'twas some blimmin' rough, I tell you, some rough. But say, all went well anyway. On Sunday, I did manage to do a bit of paperwork, and then in the evening, we went up to our Mets bungalow up Bridgeview, Martin and Myra, as they turned on their Christmas lights. 'Tis an annual event. You get up there, and Father Christmas always arrives, different mode of transport every year, and they have a bit of music there. They had a little band they're playing this year, and then Father Christmas turned up on a mini traction engine. Anybody that's friends with me on Facebook, you'll see I put a few videos up, sort of thing. And as Father Christmas was going by, I shouted out to him, Father Christmas, I'll be knocking. And I know that Father Christmas does listen to this podcast, and straight back he said, "How be knacking, Dave?" And I did put a little video of that on my Facebook page too. So, dear old Father Christmas, I know he'll be busy again this year, but if you see him anywhere, just say, "How be knacking?" But if you do live locally, obviously the lights will be on right through the festive period. Up Bridgeview, you can't miss them. And they got a little box there by the wall, and all donations this year is going for brain tumour research. So a worthy charity, and I hope they raise lots of money. A few people said to me, "Why don't Martin advertise it more?" He said, we could get loads more people going up. But it's like Martin said, I don't like to advertise it too much, because then you get into the realms of health and safety, road closure notifications, risk assessments and all that. So I can quite see where he's coming from. But I know that he does have a lot of people that do go up over the next week or two, and they do put a bit of money in the charity box. As far as me working week goes this week, it's been divided really between the crematoria, Penmount and Glyn Valley, and Robin Thwaites. Robin, he's the rector of the parishes up round St Mabon, St Toody. I know I've spoke about him before. I think he got 7 churches in all. And a lot of our services were at Glyn Valley. We were down Penmount a bit. I don't know quite if that will change a bit in the next week or two, because we've had notification through actually that Glyn Valley, they are whacking their price up a bit, which whether it will affect things, I'm not too sure. But one of the service we had was for Mick, who I've known forever, and his boy Mark, we was in the same year at school. And I think from every day, pretty much from when we started primary school to when we left St Austell sixth form, we went together. And it was lovely to see Mark again. He actually lives in China now, and he did come home for the funeral. But I say, apart from that, we've been churches with Robin, really, with like St Mabon, St Breward, Blisland, and then we did have a Catholic service in Michaelstowe Church on Wednesday, which is again one of Robin's churches. Sadly, yesterday we did have the funeral service of one of our old running mates, dear Philippa. She was only in her early 40s, and Philippa was part of the team when we ran the 2017 London Marathon for Fleet. And I got a lovely photo there way afterwards. We was there with our Cornish flags and everything, and she sat down in the front row next to Beth. But terribly sad, for dear Philippa. Talking of Glyn Valley, I did spend the evening in there last night, actually. I was in there most of the day yesterday. And then we went back at 6:30. They had their annual carol concert there, and Bodmin Town Band was playing. And 'tis a lovely little evening, I must admit. And 'tis nice to meet up. There was a few other funeral directors there, and 'twas lovely to have a chat with they afterwards, because you don't really see other funeral directors that much. You might just, as we're arriving at the crematorium, they might be leaving, sort of thing. But 'twas a lovely little evening, really. It really was. Today, on a lighter note, I did get a bit of a ribbon, really, because we was up Blisland, and a couple there had come down from England, and they'd left 4:00 in the morning. And I was talking away, and they said to me, "Cool, is that a Devon accent?" Well, you can understand, I was speechless. I thought, what's going on? And we did have a bit of a laugh about it, I must admit. But it did remind me, actually, about Robert Christie. Now, Robert, fantastic organist. And I know that I was talking once, and he said, it's strange. He said, "You'm from like North Coast." But he said, "You'm almost talking with a St Austell accent." Now, I know I've heard it in the past. People say years ago, didn't so much like it now. But years ago, every town or village, you could tell if people come from there because their accents was a little bit different. And Robert, he's very good on accents, but he said it's weird how you've got a bit of a St Austell-ish twang. Well, of course, I said, well, mother's family is all from St Austell. And he said, that's what it is. He said, that's where you've picked it up from. But there we are. So Devon accent, whatever next. And then finally, we must say congratulations to our dear little maid, Lily, and Tristan. They're away on holiday this week up in Wales. And Tristan surprised us all, including Lily, as he proposed to her. And obviously she said yes. She's tickled pink. So congratulations to they pair. I tell you what, I'm losing daughters here left, right and centre. Daisy got married this year now. Lily's got engaged. 'Tis all change, I tell you. But congratulations to them both anyway. Right, well now we move over to Ken for part 2 of his interview. And I know, as I always say, we had a lot of lovely comments last week. I've seen people on funerals and out and about town about Ken's interview. Brought back a lot of memories to a lot of people. So I'll hand over to Ken now, and then I'll speak to you again directly. So here it is.
Worked my old man, painting and everything, and I actually got a picture somewhere. George Ellis, the photographer, a lot of pictures of Weybridge, of me and the old man pushing a push bike up through Mosul Street. That was before I come out of school. I suppose I must have been about 13 or 14 then, 12, maybe, I don't know. I was quite young then.
Was it just you and Father then, or was there anyone else that worked with you?
What, just, no. My good friend, mate, Terry Nance, local boy, Terry. Oh, yeah, he worked for us, for me and Father for 40 years, I suppose. He had 2 years in the army. He went to Cyprus and bombing barracks, and then he got promoted to armourer or something and went to Cyprus, I think. And Terry worked all his life, really. Retired. The time I retired, he was a bit younger, of course, and he went up to work for Minent and Pryor then for do maintenance and stuff. And Minent and Pryor used to contract him out. He painted the magistrates' court at Truro, really, I think. Anyhow, I saw Tara, and we had many clashes together, and I didn't quite know who the boss was, but we got on all right. We had a good laugh.
Yeah. Because I can remember your premises down Bumpy Lane. I can remember your premises down Bumpy Lane.
Yes.
Down behind Glen Road.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that by the old ambulance station. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was Joe.
Joe Deacon?
Joe Deacon, that's right.
Yeah.
It was his old garage. It was his old lean-to, and in the end, I think I bought that for about £2,000. I even bought the road as well.
Yeah.
Before Joe, it was somebody called Teague, and they owned quite a lot of land, 2 trees and everything, and I had to rebuild the garage. We was working in Bodmin, and somebody rang up and said, your back walls fall down. Of course, above that was a pathway and the back gates to Glen Road. Of course, half the building was coming. So anyhow, we had to pull it down. The frost caught it, see, and a young bloke, Bob Bolson.
Oh, yeah.
He lived up above, and I paid him to do the block work. And we had it all going and put a new roof on and done that. And I sold it then for about 18 or 19,000 back then when I finished. The other side was where the old Iron Duke was dumped.
Yeah.
But several people asked where it was. I said, well, it was gone before Joe Deacon had it. And I think he sold it to somebody up St. Tootie for scrap or something iron. You remember? Do you remember the Iron Duke?
Yeah, opposite the Swan there, wasn't it?
Oh yes, used to spy through the holes to see if anybody's coming. occasionally we'd go past when it was firework day and somebody would go into the toilets, and we'd lob a banger in over the top, and he'd done quite a bit of damage to his trousers. Yeah, that's the footbridge there, remember? Where they're going over the railway line.
That's right, yeah.
I got loads of photographs of the railway.
So what was life like growing up, playing around as a schoolboy in Wadebridge?
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Easy going. I remember the manager, Mr. Clary's at the cinema. Do you remember Mr.
No,
Clary?
I don't.
No, you don't. Well, he was quite strict, and if it was an A film, you had to go in with an adult. But we'd hang around, and after the cinema just started, Mr. Claridge would sort of disappear and go home, and Mrs. Claridge used to take over, So she used to come out and said, "Look, you boys come in now and sit in the back. Don't make any noise, So we get in. We got in. We went to see an A film, Good God, yeah, yeah. The roof used to leak in the cinema, all over the place. Mm. Up in the roofs, they had big, giant, galvanized tanks, like baths, that would feed launders and stuff from the leaks into this bath, and then they'd go out into the river. Mm. I remember that quite. Mm. I used to sit down sometimes, and the seat was quite wet, I had to move over. Yeah. 1 and 9, 2 and 6, 3 and 4, and 7pence on matinees.
Can you remember working much as undertaker with Father then, or not?
Yes, we had some excitement there, but I'm not going to tell you anything much about it.
No.
Well, I might get shot.
Yeah, exactly.
But we used to pick up our coffins in latter times from a firm in Plymouth. I expect they're still going, I don't know. And at Bodmin Road, at the time, Father had a Mini. And of course the coffin wouldn't quite fit with the back doors, So we had a black sheet and put over. And, me and Terry was there, and this train pulled up, and people looking out the window, it was dark, and we was going like this. It was cold, rubbing our hands and that. And these people were sort of looking because there's the coffin, and we shoved the coffin in the back and then put a black sheet over, and I think Terry had to sit at the end so it wouldn't tip over. And we got away back to Weybridge then from Bodmin Road, That was our excitement. But Father did have a lot of sets of coffins up behind Central House, and I remember before this, when I was a youngster, I pinched the base of this oak to make a trolley with, a trolley. And of course thinking, oh, that's all right. When I had help from the old man, he said, "You just ruined a set of coffins, It didn't go down too well.
No.
It didn't go down too well.
Because back then, would you hire the hearse from Orkney?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I got to watch what I'm saying now. We had the hearse from Hawkeye's. Brian Hawkeye used to drive.
Yeah.
And we had to go down to the Lizard. And the gentleman down there was down there visiting his son, who was a lighthouse keeper. And we brought him back to Weybridge St. Brioch for the funeral. And the family from down there was following us back, and they did say, we'll stop at St. Column just to get some a sandwich or something to drink. They said, you go on, and we said, we'll go on. So we went on. Of course, all this time, all of us took short, really. And by Blabel Gate, we got Brian to back the hearse up the lane, and well, we went up the lane anyhow.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can guess what we was going to do. And then, anyhow, somehow we got out again and driving down the road, and at White Cross, they were going to turn down there by Tollgate there, you know, the little turn to go down to the Sobrao. And these people were waiting up White Cross, and they see what's coming. They stopped. They said, "Where were you?" You know, and my old man had the neck enough to say, "What do you mean, where was us? You whizzed past us and didn't say nothing. I didn't know what you whizzed past us for." So we got away with that a bit, you know, but that's the secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did he meet Val then?
Oh, met Val in 1958 when I was out in Celebel Camp. I was just being demobbed. 1958, I was in the service from 54 to 58, went to Aden and
All right, yeah.
Cyprus, Baghdad, Egypt. I was in the Egypt campaign when we bombed the Suez Canal, everything like that. And, well, I met Val over at Belmont House. That's the one by the cinema over there.
Yeah.
And above the door, there's a window with an arch, and we was painting. I started work then again, and I was up that window cleaning that, burning that window off with a blow lamp nearly all day. You know, it was the cleanest window, you know, because she was inside.
She was inside, yeah.
Yeah, so anyhow, blow lamp went out, and I put the scrape on the floor, on the windowsill, and started talking to her like, and then I put my arm on it, and it like branded me really. And I had to come down the ladder quick and go around the back and have a scream because I didn't want her to know that I was in pain, you know. No. And it went on from there. I met her again in Coronation Cafe in Bodmin, which everybody knew back in those times. That was a local meeting place. It was a carnival night. Took her home as a old gave her. And then, of course, courting her for several years. I don't know, she was a bit impatient, but in the end, I had to give in and say yes, you know. I used to take Terry Rowan there to meet his wife now.
Pearl, yeah.
Used to be a taxi service, really. Robert Blemons, it was in Wadebridge. He used to go in there.
Was Val from a Bodman family then, was she, or no?
No. She came from no man's land in Loo. You know, where the monkey sanctuary is there, up that road. That's where she was born. And then she went to Loo School, which is no longer there, junior school. Met her lovely friends there. One of her best friends was Mavis Pern, and the other one was Angela Richards, which we still keep contact with her. She lives at Sidmouth now. And, well, we had good times, really. Then she went to Plymouth to learn shorthand typing, and I believe she had quite a fast speed. She could read. If you was a good shorthand typist, you could take down the local newsreader. That was how they used to do the test, I think. And then they moved to Algaver, and then Algaver, she had a good friend called Carol Edwards. Carol's passed away now, but I still know her husband Roy Foster, and she married in Bodmin. He's still about. Her father was, well, I don't know, he worked for Camel Cornwall up by the old Bodmin jail. He used to repair farm machinery and stuff like that. And I have it to believe that he invented the original dung spreader on the tractor. We had several mistakes. The rope would pull and he'd get covered in it and that. And also he invented helped invent the hay cutter back then. It was like big rotary blades that you have on a rotary mower now, sort of thing, But of course they couldn't afford the copyright, and that was it.
What was her maiden name then? Was it Penalagan? No?
Yes.
Penalagan.
Here, that's my memory going. Thank you, Dave. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Penalagan, spelled O-A-N or O-N. Someone A-N, I think.
Right, yeah.
They were a big family. They originated from Lou, big family back there. Their ancestors go back quite. I've done the family tree, and I can go back so far as my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, who was a commander in one of Nelson's ships. But he wasn't at the Battle of Trafalgar, because I checked, and there was 94 millers in the Battle of Trafalgar, but no relation. He was, and part of the other fleet was up at Alexandria, Egypt way. He was involved with they call it the glorious 5th of June or something. It was a special battles there, but he got promoted up to commander he went as a boy, age 10, as a cabin boy, and he worked his way up to being a commander. In the end, he was shore place at Portsmouth, and he would be one of the blokes that used to go around the pubs, and anybody there grab him and go in the army. What do they call press gang?
Press gang, yeah.
Press gang. So I better not say my name up at Portsmouth,
So because I can remember Belmont House was auctioneers. Is that where Val was working?
She was working for Medal Guard.
Oh, right.
Which is still in town, I think.
Right, yeah.
She was a shorthand typist and and then after she finished there, got married and finished, and she went to Darnus Hotel at Padstow. That was a big hotel that used to cater for bowling bus trips and people. And you had 2 or 3 bowling greens there,
Oh, yeah.
And then she worked for somebody in Wills's warehouse. No, not the Wills's. Yes, one in town there by Molesworth.
Yeah.
I think that's Wills's warehouse.
Yeah.
She worked there for a while.
And then the children come along?
Oh, yes, they come along. They come along a bit late.
Right.
Because Val loved travelling. We travelled everywhere, really. Everywhere you could go with coach or boat. She didn't like flying. We went to Bournemouth for a honeymoon. Had the wedding in Bodmin. Canon Harmer done the service. He's a bit annoyed because I was quarter hour late. My old mum was crying her eyes out, thought that I'd done a bunk. And we went up to Bournemouth for the honeymoon. And I remember I had a Triumph Roadster, and I hit it way up on top of Bodmin Beacon there somewhere, And but some of the guests, my good mates, managed to know where it was, and they filled it up with all the grass that was cut on the grass bank. Filled them right up with grass. It's had a canvas roof. Anyhow, we managed to get up to Bournemouth, and we went, and funny enough, the owner of the hotel was called Mrs. Miller, but no relation.
No.
And she said to us, you had a tiring day. You haven't got to worry about getting up too early in the morning. You just lie on, Okay. So we went to her bedroom, which was up in the roof. And most of the staff was up in the roof. And I remember when the staff come back in the evening after work, they used the sink in their bedroom. It used to gurgle up. And yeah, we come down in the morning, you know, it was 9 o'clock each time, and Mrs. Miller said, first thing she said, well, there's a new honeymoon couple, and everybody looked around, looking, you know, me and Belle's face started to turn red, you know, all this year. She said, I said, Ken Miller, yeah. And you are, she said, Valerie Penaligan. She forgot her name was changed, you know, but that started it off like, I thought, oh, what's happening up there then, you know? Yeah. So we had, nice honeymoon.
Where did he live to first then when you got married?
Lived with her mother in Old Gaver for a week or so. And then we went to a Mrs. Frost house at Winder's house up at West Hill, one with the tower.
Oh, I know, yeah.
We shared one room and a bedroom, and it was a communal bath, I remember. You had to put a shilling in, or whatever it was, to heat the water. But you had to make sure that the other guests wouldn't come along and take a bucketful of hot water.
Oh.
You know, and to watch it.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Frost was a nice lady. I remember they had a time switch on. You used to run down the stairs before the switch went off. And then we went over to West Park. We had the first new building there by where you come up around the corner, where opposite the old people's bungalows.
Oh, yeah.
There's a bus stop there.
Yeah.
Margaret Lightfoot lives in there now.
Yeah.
We had that as new. And then along comes Statham, so we decided, can we afford it? So we sorted it out, and I think it was something like £10, 3 and 6 a month or something. And somebody said, God, that's dear, because the council rent was only about £6 then or something. See? Yeah. Anyhow, it wasn't long before, about 6 months, that the council rent went up, and we were cheaper. We had a fixed rate. Margaret Gardens, we went in number 3. Ivan Honey and his wife Hazel lived next door. Oh, years. I was just passed away, actually. And Hazel passed away 2 or 3 years ago. And here, Ivan lasted about, I don't know, 96, 96, 34, I don't know, Dave.
Yeah.
Anyhow, there used to be a wall between the two in the front path, and it soon became a gateway because the women used to go to and fro. Well, just getting so busy like the M25 really is. Everybody was in each other's place all the time, you know. And that was that part. And we stayed there for 30 odd years, I suppose. Then I sold it, and then I came up here to Margaret Garden, to Valley View. There's a plot here belonging to Southwest Water when they had the treatment works down below there. And of course, when Thomas's went underground and the new place, this was up for sale, so I bought this place. The land I know was £10,000. Anyhow, total, it cost me, this is 37 years ago, total with the building, the wages. Carol Wills done the block work for me, good old Carol.
Yeah.
Real good bloke.
Yeah.
No cracks in this building at all.
No.
And anyhow, that was 37 years ago, and I think it cost me somewhere around 36,000 to build and buy the land. You know, Margaret Gardens, I forgot to say, Margaret Gardens cost me £1,800. And I was still paying off the mortgage 30 years later.
Yeah.
You know, back then.
Yeah.
But that was that.
Who was your neighbours when you first built here then?
Oh, neighbours is Nigel, Julian, his wife,
Yeah.
Pat, and his boys. And next door was Tegwin.
Yeah.
Tegwin, well-known lady,
Yeah.
Welsh origin. We can't help that, can we? No, sorry, it was just a joke.
Yeah. And John?
Yeah.
Her husband
And John was a teacher up at the convent school. John was metal teacher.
Yeah.
Little story about John was he was teaching the boys, and he said they had to clean off some copper strips, and he said put on these great rubber gloves, and they held them with the pliers, and John said, for God's sake, don't put your hand in that acid.
Right.
Now, okay, of course, I think it wasn't long when one of the kids had released the pliers and this bit of metal strip went down into the pan. John said, good God, boy, and he put his hand right down there and grabbed it and picked it up and put it back. So you tell how powerful that acid was. And one of the leading members of the start of the Camel Rugby lived over there.
Yeah.
Tegwin was a teacher over the girls' school. She was the first year infants teacher, but Tegwin's well loved. Everybody knew Tegwin.
Yeah.
Lovely. And she's still there next door now.
Marvellous.
Marvellous, yeah.
Well, thank you, Ken. Proper job. And we'll have the final bit of Ken next week. Now, he was just talking about Tegwin there, or as we would always call her, Mrs. Owen, because she was our school teacher at school, so you never called her by her first name. It was always Mrs. Owen. And after I left Ken, I did pop next door, and I did have a little yarn with her, and it was lovely. I mean, she's early 90s now, and we did agree in a few weeks' time, all things being well, I'm going to pop up and do a little interview with her for the podcast, which will be brilliant. Now, also, Ken was talking about the Iron Duke there. Now, for any of you that ain't local or that have perhaps a bit younger than me, you might not remember the Iron Duke. Well, it was a big, huge piece of metal, really, a bit ornate. And basically, it was on the plat there just before what was the level crossing. And it was where the men just went round behind it and went for a pee. And that's what the Iron Duke was. I think I've spoke about it before, and I have got a photo somewhere. I'm looking now. It is actually on Eric Tatlow's book. I know I mention Eric a lot of times. He got this brilliant book, and there is a picture of the Iron Duke there, and it is painted blue with a bit of white on top. And that's where the men would just go in behind and go for a pee. So that's what it is. For me Cornish word of the week, I'm going to do a couple this week because we're nearly at Christmas. What date is it today? I'm looking 13th of December today. And I thought what I would do, I'd do the Cornish for Ollie and the Ivy, which is Kellan ag Hevio. Kellan ag Hevio. And for me Cornish dialect of the week, well, 'tis a saying really, and 'tisn't even Cornish really, 'tis a saying of one of me mates, and that's dear John Moon. And Mooner, we did have him on a few months ago on the podcast. He's some dry, I tell you, he really is so dry. And last week he was in the van with us when we was coming back from Blisland, and of course we was having to turn round, driving down lanes, turning round, driving down other lanes. And bearing in mind that John now, I think he's 82, after a few of these shenanigans where we were having to turn round and that, he turned to me and he said, "Mother never told me 'twould be like this." And we thought it was brilliant. Coming from John 82, imagine, well, when he was like 5, 6 years old and Mother was talking to him, well, was there cars? There weren't many cars around then. But I thought it was proper. It really made us laugh. Mother never told us 'twould be like this. So there we are. Right, I'll leave you for another week. Wish ye well. Do get us. Cernobus Fican.